All right. I'm go- I do have somewhere to be. I do have somewhere to be. I'm going to call to order this finance committee meeting, April 18th, 2023. Coach, do you mind saying the invocation for us? I'm sorry, I forgot to ask you earlier. Thank you very much.
No problem. As always, let's bow our heads, please. Gracious Father, as we assemble ourselves once again, we come with praise, come with honor, and truly, Lord, we come to say thank you for another day. We pray, Lord, that you bless each and every person under the sound of my voice. We ask a blessing upon this meeting and blessing upon this parish of Ascension. And Lord God, as we leave this place tonight, we ask that you allow each of us to get home safe and sound to our families. In your name we pray. And we all said amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Oh, Councilman Ives is here. Okay. It looks like we're just missing Ms. Secretary. We're missing Mr. Robert, Mr. Turner, and Mr. Ogeron tonight. The chair does not have any additions for this evening, so we'll just go straight into public comment. If anybody has any agenda item they want to speak on, just fill out a red or green card, and we'll be glad to give you your 3 minutes on that. And then we'll move on to general business. Item A, approval of a cooperative endeavor agreement between Ascension Parish government and the Jambalaya Capital of the World to provide funding of $20,000 to help marketing and public relations.
Motion. Second.
I have a motion for Mr. Cagnolati, a second for Mr. Lambert. Do I have any objections? Any questions?
Just one question. Just let it be known that Mr. Italian was on his way, but he's in New Orleans at Jazz Fest, promoting jambalaya and getting things down in New Orleans taken care of. His niece was supposed to show up. Is Holly here? If not, we'll move on. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, motion carries. Item B, consideration to grant a variance for sewer development fee for the pit stop car wash at 16338 Airline Highway in Prairieville. Mr. Dawson? I know I saw him. There you go.
This is the standard variance that I've come to you before with, which, so they have a commercial facility here, no place for it to connect to public sewer, so really the development fee doesn't apply there.
All right, I have a motion from Commissioner Cazzo, a second from Mr. Lawler. Any objections? Any discussion? All right, motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Dawson. Approval of amendment number 1 to the agreement between Ascension Parish Government and Roberto Macedo and Associates for administrative consultant services for the funds received through the Department of Housing and Urban Development program for Section 8 housing for an additional. Got a motion from Coach and a second from Ms. Cazzo. Do I have any objections? Any questions? All right, motion carries. Item D. Approval of the renewal of the master contract for professional services between Ascension Parish Government and Roberto Macedo and Associate. I have a motion from Mr. Lawler, a second from Coach. Do you have any objections? Any questions? Motion carries. We have approval of professional selection committee's recommendation to select H&TB for the RFQ for the Move Ascension Program Manager. I have a motion from Mr. Lawler, a second from Ms. Cazzo. Do I have any questions? Any objections? Motion carries. Results of the request for quotes and approval to enter into contract with the lowest responsive quote submitted by Premier Service Team LLC in the amount of $62,050.67 for the replacement of the shingles on the Art Building. Have a motion by Mr. Melonso, second by Mr. Lambert. Any questions? Any objections? Motion carries. All right, I've got approval of renewal of master contract for professional services between Ascension Parish Government and CSRS LLC, for engineering review agency services. Total contract to not exceed $250,000. I have a motion from Ms. Cazzo, a second from Mr. Lawler. I have a question for Mr. Cagnolati.
Is this the same as last year? That's my only question.
Let's see. Yeah, Mr. Jerome's on his way.
Yes, this is just a renewal for the engineering review agency services that CSS provides the planning department. Yeah, same scope of work.
That's it. Okay, thank you, Mr.
Okay.
Chair.
So I have a motion and a second. Do I have any more questions? Any objections? All right, motion carries. Item H, approval of all right, I got a motion from Coach. A second from Ms. Terry. I think I need to read the whole thing, right? Okay. Approval of cooperative endeavor agreement between Ascension Parish Government and the City of Donaldsonville for $400,000 from capital outlay funds for the revitalization of La La baseball field. Okay. Thank you, Coach. And, yes, you have a question? Okay.
This $400,000 is the city of Donaldsonville is, do they have any,
I'm sorry?
the city of Donaldsonville?
Mm-hmm.
Are they putting in anything in here this is strictly coming from,
Mr. Compton's gonna come
this
speak
is
on that.
strictly coming from the lighting district, what district? Is this coming out of? I need to have that, I need to make that known.
Yes, sir.
What district coming out of, and what,
I don't know what number district it is. It's District 2.
District 2, okay? And that lighting district is in whose district?
That is in your district.
And how much of the city?
The city's not putting up any money. This is capital outlay money. We are leveraging this $400,000 to construct this project.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Coach.
Thank
Ms. Cazzo.
So when are we gonna get some money for the Cazo Water Park? It's not relevant to Coach's project, but I'm still waiting on my water park in Dutchtown.
So we have some recreation folks here who can nod in agreement. This is an active, ongoing project that we are working on bidding out currently. It's a state, it's on the, some of it on state contract, some of it we're gonna have to contract out, but we are actively working to begin that project soon.
If you don't get it soon, I'm gonna actually put a statue of little Coy Cazo in the middle of that thing.
Water spraying out your head.
Understood.
Thank y'all so much.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Malonzo.
Yeah, so the only question, I'm sorry, I'm bringing it back up. But so, let me see, so the city of Donaldsonville is going to distribute the funds? Explain that to me, because it's a little.
It's
a little-
complicated.
Yeah, it's a little tricky.
The state allocated money to make repairs to the field because of Hurricane Ida. But they allocated those dollars to the city of Donaldsonville. So it's our park.
Gotcha.
In order to receive those funds, we have to put up, I believe it's $250,000. We have $400,000 in the lighting fund that we were going to spend doing the LED lights on La La Ruggiero Field anyway. So we're just taking those dollars, giving them to the city as our match to leverage those capital outlay funds, but those funds will help us rebuild the grandstands, replace the lights, and if there's additional funds, make additional improvements to La La Ruggiero Field. So our cooperative endeavor with the city of Donaldsonville that I think you guys have already approved lays out those priorities in order, that it's lights, it's grandstands, and it's any additional improvements that can be afforded.
Right, and it's in this contract, the priorities at which they'll be addressed. I'm just, it says the city shall administer capital outlay funds, including oversight, selection of contractors, and submission of expenditures, and the parish shall provide approval of all plans prior to execution and allow improvements to be made at the field. So I was just, so we're, in this CA, we're gonna give the city of Donaldsonville the 400, they're gonna manage it, but it is on our property, so we'll also help oversee it.
Correct.
Going to the lot field.
Yeah, which
It's
the
our
parish
property.
owns.
It's our money, it's our property.
Right, they couldn't come to us and say, hey, we want to build a carousel in the parking lot. We're gonna say, no,
Yeah.
we're not doing that.
Okay, I'm good. I just wanted to understand how everything was going.
All right, Mr. Lawler.
Yeah, Chase, you caught this. I didn't catch this. That's a good job. I have a question. Section number 6, the city, and we kind of talked about this before, the city is agreeing to hold harmless the parish, and then the parish is agreeing to hold harmless the city. is just circular. Doesn't really make sense.
Yeah, I'm not a lawyer. I didn't write it. I don't know. I can't answer that.
If we're all holding harmless each other, there's no real hold harmless.
It's typically for the actions of each party. And so, in other words, each person is responsible for their own actions. So if the parish causes some fault, then they're responsible for their degree of fault. And if the city causes fault, they're responsible for their degree. It's basically a comparative fault principle applied, and a hold harmless so that one is not responsible for the fault of the other. That's the intention. But I'll pull up the language and make sure that's what it.
It's just kind of weird because it says the city agrees to hold harmless the parish of any activities conducted, and it acknowledges some other things. And then the same paragraph, the same section, same paragraph, it then says the parish agrees to hold harmless the city of any activities conducted.
I always insist on a reciprocal indemnity, not a one-way, so that comparative fault can be applied and that one person or one entity is not responsible for the whole degree of fault if it's shared. So that's why I always have it. And it can seem like it's circular, but it's really just each person's own degree. Again, in compliance with comparative fault, which was the 1996 tort revision.
Yeah, I don't like the way it's worded, but we can live with it. Okay. Oh, we're gonna kill it. Don't worry, Coach. I'm afraid of you, man.
All right, do I have any other questions or objections? All right, motion carries. Madam Secretary, please note that Mr. Robert has arrived. Item I, approval of amendment number 4 to the master contract for professional services with Meyer Engineers LTD for the the Dutchtown Library splash pad to increase the total contract amount by additional $9,700 for a new contract of $59,600. Mr. Cagnolati.
Just a question, is this purely, Michael, is this purely engineering services in addition to what they've already done?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And what does that entail?
It was just additional design services for work that was requested, and they've done that work. They've submitted the drawings to us. We have those. We own those now, and this would be to pay for that.
Okay. That's fine. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I think it has something to do with the sewer treatment plant too at the library.
I'm not sure that that's exactly what this one was, but there were some requested changes to that one that had gone through that.
Okay.
And now we have that design, and we will be going out to bid and going on that this year. So it is on our project list for this year.
John, don't get in the way of this.
Well, the chair will entertain a motion.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Melanson, second by Ms. Cazzo. Any questions? Any objections? Motion carries. Item J, approval of renewal master services contract between Ascension Parish Government and Gallo Mechanical Services LLC for HVAC maintenance and repair parish facilities. Total budget amount of $350,000 to be shared between two providers.
Motion approved.
Second.
I have a motion from Mr. Melanson, a second from Mr. Lambert. Do I have any I have a question from Mr. Cagnolati.
Is this, the renewal is the same amount as last year, or is this an increase?
Yes and no. So we just asked for an increase to finish out through the end of May, which is that year end of contract will be end May 23rd. So we asked for additional funds because this was our first time doing it. So this would cover the amount that was recently improved for the next year. So it's 175 for Gallo and 175 for corporate mechanical for an additional year.
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to object. I want to get some more discussion on this at the council meeting.
Okay. I have an objection from Mr. Cagnolati, so we'll do a roll call vote. Please go ahead and vote. All right, I have 7 yeas, 2 nays, and 2 absences, and Coach wants to make a comment. ahead, Coach.
No, I'm good.
Oh, okay. All right, well, the yeas have it, so that'll go ahead and, do you want to still discuss that?
Yeah, any objection will not be
It
on the
will go-
consent. That's the only reason I
Gotcha.
object, so it
He
won't
wants
be
to
on
talk
the
about it in
consent
council.
agenda. It'll be in general business for the council meeting. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Kakalani. Item K, approval of renewal of master services contract between Ascension Parish and Corporate Mechanical Services LLC for the HVAC maintenance repair with a budget amount of $350,000 share between two providers. This is the other half of that one we just voted on. I have a motion from Mr. Melanson, a second from Ms. Cazzo. Do I have any questions? Any objections? So moved. All right, item L, approval of renewal of contract between Ascension Parish Government and Ty Gotro FNPBC to provide medical services to inmates in the parish jail for the amount of $4,725 a month. I have a motion from Ms. Terry and a second from Coach. Do I have any questions? Any objections? All right, so moved. Thank you, Ms. Christie. Approval amendment number 2 to the original agreement with Capital Staffing, DBA Ammon Staffing for nursing staff at the Ascension Parish Jail for an increase to the contract amount in $100,000. I have a motion from Mr. Robert, a second from Mr. Thomas. I have a question from Mr. Lawler.
Yeah, why do we need an increase?
We have 24-hour maintenance, inmate care at the jail, and we're running into staffing issues with people on maternity leave or medical leave, holidays, and we need 24-hour coverage, so that's where that increase is coming from. It's expensive to go through a contract agency.
Oh, so we have to go through a contract agency on this?
Yeah,
Yeah, it's like doubling the cost.
expensive.
Yeah, no, I understand that, I just wasn't sure the basis.
absolutely.
Oh, I know. No, you're
Any
right.
other questions? Any objections? All right, motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Approval of amendment number 5 to the contract with Meyer Engineers LTD for support services for the Parish Recreation Department for the Lamar Dixon Expo Center Gym. Expansion to increase the contract amount by additional amount of $28,757.50 for a new total contract, not to exceed the amount of $317,000. Got a motion from Coach.
Second.
And I have a second from Mr. Lambert, and I have a question from Mr. Lawler.
What is this for?
This is
It's for the gym.
early in the project.
Oh, yeah.
Microphone, please.
It was early in the project, it was a design issue. So there's no cost to the parish. It was taken out of Lincoln Builders. They billed for it, or they had the change order number 2 that took it out. Myers just never invoiced for it, so this is just to clean it up.
So this isn't costing us anymore?
No.
Okay.
This is just a redesign that had to be done. Lincoln Builders agreed to pay for it. Myers did the design. So it took it out of their contract, goes to Meyer. They just haven't invoiced for it till now.
So where's the money?
Purpose.
Yeah. What, if this is between Meyer and Lincoln, how are we involved?
I agree. You will. It's before my time.
Yeah,
when
no, I
they did it,
understand.
I probably should have come on up. What it was is, both of these contractors is actually contracted through our contractor. So, in order to save time and aggravation, Lincoln agreed to give us a credit for the amount of the engineering fee, and in turn, we would turn around and give that value to to Myers as an increase to their contract to pay for that service. So basically, it's just a pass-through cost to us.
So somewhere we should have that we've approved another change order for $28,000?
There is a change order with the credit from Lincoln in our system. I think he said it was number 2.
Okay, that we approved before?
Yes.
That's where the math was not making sense.
Yes.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you.
Thank y'all.
Any other questions? Any objections? All right. Motion carries. Item O, approval of the Professional Selection Committee recommendation to select the highest scoring respondent to the request for qualifications, quality engineering and surveying for Butch Gore Park renovations.
Motion to approve, and I'd also like to know a little details about the Bush Gore improvement.
Well, here she comes.
This is my first time.
There you go. If y'all hadn't met our new, one of our new project managers, this is Rachel. She's helping out with the recreation department, so she'll be running this one. So this is to renovate Butch Gore, the softball park, getting 4 turf infields in the quad area there, as well as backstops, brick, net, posts, that kind of thing.
New handicap parking as well.
Yeah, some paving, some parking, and some drainage work if necessary, things like that.
All right.
Yeah.
Cool. All right.
And that's kicked off hopefully to start this summer and then roll right on into be ready for spring, if all goes to plan.
Okay. Mr. Robert has a question.
How many trees do you have in that budget?
I should have known that was coming. I don't have any in that one, but I have some in some other places.
Can we add just a couple?
We'll talk to the engineering firm for that, yeah.
I agree.
I think that would make me
We
happy.
have looked into both shade and trees at all of our parks, and that is one of the ones where we had.
Boy,
also
this would just
looked
be
at
a
that.
great time to start a little bit at a time.
Yep.
But, yeah.
Absolutely.
Any other questions? I have a motion from Mr. Melanson. That's it so far. I have a second from Ms. Cazzo. Any objections? All right, motion carries. Thank you, Mr. King. Item P, results for request of quotes and approval to enter into contract with the lowest responsive quote submitted by ZZ Construction LLC in the amount of $99,250 for construction of the Recreation Department maintenance shop located at Lamar Dixon. Y'all want information? No.
I'll make a motion, but I also like to know a little bit about this.
So one of the storage areas at the back over by where they used to store the sand for sandbagging and things like that, we are converting that into a maintenance shop for our crew. So the idea is to move everybody from Santa Ma Park, where we have a hard time containing everything and where we end up having to move stuff during heavy rain events and all that anyway, to Lamar Dixon. We're going to move all our operations to Lamar Dixon. This is now a shop to have where we can put our all our equipment in, do some maintenance work on it and things like that. So it's basically putting in roll-up doors, making some conversion to the building itself to make sure that it's,
So you can secure
that we
everything
can,
over there.
yeah.
Mr. Lawler?
Yeah, not as much about this, but wasn't the old animal shelter supposed to be converted into a maintenance facility? Ricky? I always think Ricky's over there.
Yeah, so facility maintenance and recreation maintenance are two different things, two different departments, two different functions. So we made the decision that to convert Santa Ma Park back to just a park and remove all that to where we move everything every time we have a rain event just made the most sense since we're not doing sandbagging in that building anymore. So we're in the process, all the recreation offices have moved upstairs in the gym since utilities is no longer located there. And as soon as this project is done, the Santa Ma Park facility will be demolished and that will all go back to park space. That's when we'll start talking about the pump track and a kayak launch and those other things back in that back area. We'll remove the double wide office building that's there. It'll become a full park facility and not half surplus, half maintenance, half all that other stuff. So it's lots of halves.
What is the functional difference, though, between a recreation maintenance facility and a facilities maintenance facility?
So facilities maintenance has carpenters, it has plumbers, it has electricians, potentially welders. You're going to have a shop where you have table saws and band saws. Recreation maintenance is typically lawnmowers and weed eaters and blowers and sprayers and supplies for spraying pesticides and all that kind of stuff. It's two different functions.
It just seems that you could combine, though, to save a little bit of money, but apparently we're not moving the animal shelter anytime soon, so I guess not.
Well, that and generally speaking, grounds maintenance and facility maintenance are two entirely different things. I mean, that shop, that when it gets moved to Kara's house, will be a full functioning shop where we can, during rain events, do carpentry work and build things and it'll be a shop, a working shop. The shop at Lamar Dixon is going to be primarily for storing equipment, housing all of our, stuff out of the rain, fertilizer, mulch, all that, pesticides.
I'm just looking to see if we could save money, but I understand now.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Chair will entertain a motion. I didn't hear it, I'm
Second.
sorry. I have a motion from Mr. Robert, a second from Ms. Cazzo. I didn't mean to, I'm sorry. Okay, any questions? Any objections? And motion carries. Thank you very much. Approval of the renewal of the contract with Louisiana Claims Administrators for claims management and administration. I have a motion from Mr. Lawler. Second from Mr. Melanson.
Explain that.
And Mr. Cagnotti would like that explained, so can we get Ms. Kaysen?
I think Michael explained it to me. We already did the first year, but we have to renew it every year, is that correct?
Actually, what we just did in June was to add risk management to the existing. This is the renewal of the 3 years. The first one was in 2020.
Okay.
So this one actually is for the next 3 starting in June.
Oh, so this is
Different one.
3 new years?
My mistake.
Okay.
My mistake, I'm sorry. Okay, so I have a motion and a second. Do I have any questions? Any objections? Motion carries. Approval of, item R, approval of substantial completion Angelo and Sons Electric Services Barn Power Drops.
Motion to approve and to remind Mr. Goldsmith that substantial completions are still on agendas.
This is the
He's
last
working on
time
it.
you will
He's
see one on an agenda. We have worked it out with the attorneys, and what we're going to do is include those on the contracting report. So you'll see the substantial completions on there, but you won't have to approve them every time. If you have questions, obviously, we can discuss them, but this will, as requested, help take one more item off the agenda for you.
Awesome, thank you.
I have a motion and a second and a complaint about substantial completions. Do we have any questions?
I just wanted to know.
Yes, sir.
This is complete.
It's substantially complete.
Yeah.
Any objections? All right, motion carries. Item S, approval of change order number 1 to the original contract with BET Construction, Inc. for early childhood care facility, Lemon Building for the credit. I have a motion by Coach Thomas and a second by Joel Robert. Do I have any objections? Any questions? Motion carries. Item T, approval of change order number 9, Shaw Construction Services, Ascension Parish Sewer Program Improvements for the additional scope of services in the additional amount of $82,588. Total contract amount, $5,056,157.66. Mr. Dean.
Motion for discussion.
I think, yeah, come on up, Mr. Dean. You see big numbers, you want to start talking.
My inheritance here.
I'm very anxious to know how we're, like, this is the never-ending project.
All right,
I mean, what is it, change order number 9?
Yeah,
I
let
mean,
me
these
bring
people-
y'all up to speed. I took the project over in January.
Uh-huh.
All right.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. I did an assessment, had a meeting, and we now have wet wells 1, 3, and 4 have been powered up, have been tested, and are in service. Number 4, we have approximately another 150 foot of pipe to tie in, and that'll give us where we can start tying in all the houses. Now, number 2, after they tried 3 times putting it in the same place, I chose to move it and have another soil test done, and also have another engineer give us a different design, which we now have, and we're currently working with the contractor to get a cost to do that, because he's already put it in 3 times in a different location. So once we get that, that'll be the final wet well for this project. And after that, we'll just have some fencing and some asphalt, which the parish is gonna do, and we call this thing done.
Who picked the spot where he tried to put it in 3 times?
That I can't answer. I wasn't on the project at that point. It's been through several different management personnel.
I'm making a motion to deny this, I mean, this has been, I don't know, 18-month project that's on year 3 or 4, and these.
Well, I promise you, we're making good headway. We're not that far off.
Hold on, Joel, hold on, I got somebody in line. Mr. Cagnolotti.
Yeah, there again, this is an item I think we have to have further discussion on, so I would offer an objection so that it can be put on general business for the next council meeting, and we can vet it more fully.
He's making a motion to
I made a
deny.
motion to deny.
Approval.
To approval,
Well,
in general.
I think legal should chime in. I want to advise you that I've been negotiating with the contractor. They are in liquidated damages at this point, and we have a settlement that I'm working on that I would like to bring to you as well. So maybe we'll do that in executive session. How about if I put it on executive session the next time for presentation of that, and that might give you some insight into where we are with it.
All right, well, in that case.
You want to table it?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to table until we've heard from legal on the issue.
Okay, I have a motion, a second to table it. Mr. Robert, you had comments, right?
Not anymore, that's.
No more? Okay. Sorry. All right, so I have a motion and a second to table this to the next meeting whenever we have executive session about this. Do I have any objections to that? Any questions? All right, motion carries. We'll bring it to the next meeting.
Sorry, Mr. Dean.
Mad at you. All right, item U, approval of contract between Ascension Parish Government and Meyer Engineers LTD for consulting services roundabout at Public Road 929 and Parker Road for construction, engineering, and inspection for a maximum not to exceed amount of $128,504. Parish responsible for 20%. I have a motion from Mr. Lawler, a second from Ms. Cazzo. Do I have any questions? And a hallelujah from Ms. Cazzo, not a second. Do I have any questions? Any objections? All right, motion goes forward. Approval of contract between Ascension Parish Government and Meyer Engineers LTD for consulting services roundabout Church Point and Roddy Road. Okay, I have a motion from Ms. Cazzo, a second from Mr. Lawler. Do I have any questions? Any objections? Motion carries. Approval amendment number 5 to the master contract for professional services with T. Baker Smith for the LA 3127 extension design services to extend the contract for term for an additional year through February 7th, 2024. This only extends the term.
Second.
I have a motion from Ms. Cazzo, a second from Mr. Cagnolotti. Do I have any questions? Any objections? Motion carries. Item X, approval of change order number 6, R.J. Daigle and Sons, Inc., US 61 and Germany Road intersection improvements, MA 18-05, to add 175 additional days to increase the amount by $15,168.01 for installation of pavement patching and installation of a rebuild fence. I have a motion from Mr. Lawler, a second from Mr. Cagnolotti. Any question? You have a question? Okay.
It said pavement patching was added to the work order to address pavement-based failure that developed in existing travel lanes adjacent to new work. I drove by there the other day. Do we know if we got all that fixed? Is that fixed now?
Yes, it's been fixed a while back.
Maybe there's something new there. That's why I ask.
What's that?
Maybe there's something new there.
The work was actually done around the Christmas holidays or a little bit after that, and it's a portion of Airline Highway that we used as part of the new right turn lane at the intersection, and it failed shortly after we put traffic on it, so that's why they had to come patch it. It was kind of a emergency thing. We had to go out there and patch it, so that was part of it, along with the fence work, and then the days was just because we had so much of a delay of getting traffic signal equipment in.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Yes.
Okay, Ms. Cazzo?
So Joey, I'm going to channel Bill Dawson here. So this work's already been done,
Correct.
and we're kind of approving it after we've done it?
Yes.
So what would happen if we said no?
We would, this is a lane, it's part of the new right turn lane of Airline Highway. Whenever it failed, it surprised all of us. We thought it was going to hold up, and it did not. So it wasn't like we could not fix it. So we fixed it immediately, even though, and we didn't have time to wait for council approval on it. So it was something we did a while back.
So shouldn't there be some kind of like notice to the council that there's an emergency repair that had to be done, just so that we're not just bald-faced approving something that is already done. I mean, we would have known, at least we would have known that it needed to happen.
Yeah, it comes up a lot during construction.
know.
So it'll, whatever avenue that is, it's, it's going to come up often.
Email.
Well, we can, that's something we can discuss at another time.
Mr. Lawler?
I'll bring up, we've actually discussed this a while back in transportation through the years. I know we had an executive committee meeting on it a long time ago. I don't remember the exact numbers, but I know Ruth was there. She may be able to chime in. I don't think she's here today. We had, I think, reached agreement that if any of the change orders were, I think, below 5%, or maybe even 10%, that as long as they were below that threshold and didn't reach a point that they went over that threshold, they could be done and we would approve them later, because the goal was not to impede transportation work, basically. Because I think one of the examples Joey had used years ago was sometimes if you're laying pipe and you've got to lay pipe below a road and you realize you're 2 or 3 feet short, instead of waiting on a change order, taking that delay, which could be a month or two, they just order the extra pipe, put it in there, and get the road done if it's going to be below that 5%.
So what we probably need, and I do recall that now that you mention it, is some notation in the agenda that this was, that the issue was below that threshold. That way
Gotcha.
we'd know.
Right, that would be fine.
Thank you.
Y'all
Thank
good
you.
Sorry to jump in there.
That's okay. I'm glad you reminded me.
All right, any other questions? Any objections? Okay, motion carries. Approval of contract between Ascension Parish Government and Richard Price Contracting Company LLC for the roundabout at Church Point and Roddy clearing and grubbing in the amount of $1,936,083.96, and the approval of parish president to execute this contract. LADOTD did advertise for, receive, and accept the bid from the contract for work on this construction project. A motion from Mr. Lawler, a second from Mr. Lambert.
I do have one question.
Question, Mr. Melanson.
So the headline says clearing and grubbing, but this is the entire roundabout, correct? 1.9.
Correct. And it's gonna be a
I was going through, I seen the itemized list, and I said, there's no way we're paying $2 million for clearing and grubbing.
Right, no, it's full construction, and it's actually a concrete, it's going to be a concrete roundabout as opposed to the other one, which was asphalt.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? Any objections? All right, motion carries. Item Z, approval to Amendment 14 to the professional services contract with All South Consulting Engineers for grant management and disaster recovery project management activities to correct the amendment number 13 approved at the March 16th council meeting for a total of $345,000. The correct amount should have been $374,000, and the new total of the contract was corrected and approved to $1,476,100 and remains the same. I have a motion from Mr. Robert, second from Mr. Melanson. Do I have any questions? Any objections? Motion carries. Item AA, approval of amendment number 3 to the agreement for psychiatric, substance abuse, and mental health with Dr. J. Robert Barnes, Mental Health East, for additional funds in the services in the amount of $45,000. Total contract not to exceed $268,881.28. I have a motion from Mr. Cagnolati. Second from Coach. Have any questions? Any objections? Motion carries. Item BB, approval of the amendment number 5 to the master contract, for professional service agreement with Magnolia Service Group LLC for services at the Ascension Counseling Center to increase the total contract amount by an additional $20,500 for a new contract amount of $111,499. Mr. Goldsmith, your name's on this one.
This is just an amount to get us to that June 1st takeover by OLOL.
Second.
I have a motion for Mr. Robert, a second from Ms. Cazzo. Any questions? Any objections? Motion carries. Item CC, resolution to approve the 2-year appointment of Patrick Goldsmith as Director of the Board of Louisiana Local Government Environmental Facilities and Community Development Authorities. That's a heck of a business card. For the purposes of assisting political subdivisions and other designated entities in acquiring, financing, and constructing certain facilities, including environmental, public infrastructure, community, and economic development purposes, and otherwise establish programs to aid in the financing of local government and economic development projects.
Second.
Wow. Did you copy the whole job description on that one? Goodness. I have a motion from Ms. Terry, a second from Mr. Cagnolati. Do I have any questions? Any objections? All right, motion carries. Item DD, approval of amendment number 2 to the contract with Trash Rangers to increase the total contract amount by additional $60,000. This increase is due to the upcoming opening of the new recycling center at DPW West, demolition of playgrounds at several parish parks, removal of surplus items to allow renovations of armory. I have a motion from Coach and a second from Joel. And Mr. Lawler has a question.
Yeah, with the increase the number of 8-yard dumpsters, do we know how many were getting increased? Or is this?
I don't know if we have the exact number of increases, but in the past with the prior contractor, we were having trouble having things being picked up, and now things are actually picked up on schedule. In fact, I was asking, and we haven't had one complaint. We were having so many complaints from our departments with their trash just not being picked up. And now everything's on schedule, which is, it's a good thing. And when their dumpsters are full and we call, they come, which was also different from the past, where if we called, it might take days and dumpsters were overflowing and we were getting complaints. So,
but that doesn't answer the question at all.
No, I think I told you, I don't have an exact number.
Yeah, so I mean, I know the service is good, but it looks, we're paying more, but I'm not sure if we're getting anything more there.
Well,
and the increase in litter pickup programs collection, how is that increasing?
Well, so we're about to open the recycling center on the West Bank, and, that's part of the $75,000 grant that we got that's going to cover a lot of the materials and a lot of the advertising. We also got an $8,000 grant for fencing. So when that opens up, and we're realizing from the east side, recycling is being used a lot, more so than we anticipated. That's a good thing. So we're trying to look for, other things. I know we've talked to the chairman about maybe some other opportunities to partner with people, but that's a significant cost when we add that facility, because those are huge dumpsters that are being filled on the weekends. We were shocked. We even went back and looked at the cameras, and they're just backed up, filling up those 30-yard dumpsters. And when we come in Monday, they're full. So that's one of the big costs associated with this increase, and we just don't know how much. The other big increase, and Ricky had talked about this when we initially did this contract, is we're starting a lot of capital work. And so when we demolished the playgrounds, when we did the surplus items at the armory, we're having a lot more costs associated with that, which is, a good thing. We're actually moving projects now, and we just weren't sure of the extent of that. So between the increase in the capital, the recycling, spending more than we anticipated, and opening the West Side facility, we're just trying to give a safe amount, because we really have no idea what to expect when we open that West Side facility.
So is this based on like this increased number of pickups? Is this $60,000 just a flat fee given it to them, or do they have to bill per each pickup?
Oh, they have to bill. This is just a not to exceed.
Okay.
And we did build in a little bit of cushion, just because on the West Side, if it's as successful as the East Side, we could be using a good chunk of that.
Okay, and the rate would be the same?
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
One last question, this may be more question for Michael. I know we've got a lot of light posts down at some of our parks. We kind of talked about, will this get those picked up?
Yes.
It's all of
So
them.
I'll go ahead and take credit for a lot of this. It's on us, because we are doing a lot of these projects, and I'm ordering a lot of these roll-offs. And again, previously, I know we've talked about it, how we had a bunch of parks where we didn't feel comfortable putting dumpsters, or they get overloaded, not get picked up, or people just dump all around it. But we removed them. We're looking at putting some back and bringing in some more of those 8 yards in other locations as well. So that
Okay,
would
but
all
like
be-
remember how we had some lights at Butch Gore?
Yeah, so
and
we're gonna
all
get a roll-off out there and toss them in there.
Okay, cool.
Yep.
That's good.
Okay. Coach Thomas?
Yes, I'd just like to give a shout out to the administration for the work that's being done on the West Bank. And I'll ask that we continue to do the work and continue to move forward. But I just want to, on behalf of the parish, West Ascension, behalf of Ascension Parish, we'd like to say thank you all for the hard work and the work that's being done on the West Bank of the river. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Any other questions? I have a motion and a second. Any objections? All right, motion carries. Item EE, approval of cooperative endeavor agreement between Ascension Parish Government and the Arc of East Ascension to provide funding in the amount of $15,000 for reimbursement for a non-renewable basis for the Summer Shine Day Camp. I have a motion from Mr. Lambert and a second from Mr. Cagnolati. Any objection to this? Any questions? All right, motion carries. Item FF, approval of resolution to update banking information for the parish. Mr. Goldsmith.
This is just a standard agreement we have with the bank. It's time to update it, and so we're just making sure we include the people that can be responsible for dealing with the bank, working with our investments, and so it's going to be myself and our two comptrollers. It'll be Dawn and Amanda.
Second. All right, I have a motion from Ms. Cazzo, a second from Mr. Lawler. Any questions? Any objections? Motion carries. Item GG, contract report of all contracts and agreements entered to the month of March for 2023. This is something that Mr. Goldsmith and I are working on. We're going to try to get it to where it's a monthly presentation. So what we want to do is any new contract that we enter into will be kind of highlighted, and then any contract that falls off will be highlighted as well. So we know what we're gaining, we know what we're losing, and then that way it's he's going to, I think eventually the goal is to get a little small presentation out of it, maybe. Well, so we'll keep working with that, but yeah, that's just something we wanted you guys to have, so you can kind of start looking at that, because I know that contracts are important to everybody up here.
Use a different color of highlighter for the ones that are coming up and the ones that are added.
I will take that into note, Joel. Thank you very much. So item 6, finance reports, the parish position report. Ms. Kaysen.
Front of you, hopefully, just nice. So what we have here is for the first quarter of 2023. The first total tells you the number of employees by month for January, February, March, and as of April 1st. As you can see, we're down to 420 currently as of this report. This next column is the one that I actually am most proud of, because it shows you the exact number of promotions by department in the first quarter. And we've had a total of 3. And those were the only actions that were taken to increase base salary in the first quarter, absent the COLAs that were actually there as well. The number of merits will be in the next quarter report, because those were effective the first pay period in April. Are there any questions for that before I move on?
I think you're good.
Okay. The next column shows you the employee totals for just the month of March, and then as of April 1st for each one, and then it actually goes down and breaks down the total payroll. And it goes into the staff leaving and the new hires. And then the overtime totals right here, which we're actually looking like we're doing pretty good as of now.
Any questions on that section? Okay. Is that it?
Okay.
Okay. Thank you very much. Item B, budget amendment number 1, approval to amend the 2023 budget. Ms. Dawn?
Good evening. You have before you the ordinance for budget amendment number 1, which reads as follows. An ordinance to amend the ordinance approving, adopting, and appropriating the 2023 operating and capital budgets for the Parish of Ascension, adopted by the Ascension Parish Council on the 17th day of November 2022. Section 1. The Ascension Parish Council hereby ordains that the ordinance approving, adopting, and appropriating the 2023 operating and capital budgets for the Parish of Ascension is hereby amended, approved, and appropriated as follows. Operating budget, Health Unit Fund for the Sandomal Recreation Center project, expenditures and other financing uses, transfer out to the Park Construction Fund, $500,000. Mental Health Fund for the Sandomal Recreation Center project, expenditures and other financing uses, transfer out, Park Construction Fund, $500,000. Lighting District Number 2 for the La La Rajira Field Lighting Project, expenditures and other financing uses, transfer out, Park Construction Fund, $400,000. Capital Budget, Park Construction Fund for the La La Rajira Field Lighting Project, as well as the Sandomal Recreation Center. Revenues and other financing sources, transfers in Health Unit Fund, $500,000. Transfer in Mental Health Fund, $500,000. Transfer in Lighting District Number 2 Fund, $400,000. Expenditures and other financing uses, contract payments, capital for the La La Rajira Field Lighting Project, $400,000. Contract payments, capital for the Sandomal Recreation Center project, $1 million.
Thank you, Mr. Owen. I need a motion to send this to full council. I have a motion from Mr. Malonzo, a second from Mr. Lawler. Do I have any questions? Any objections? So moved. And item C, approval of a proposed 2023 millage ordinance. Mr. Goldsmith.
You have before you the 2023 millage book as well as the ordinance. So this is the annual process we go through, and before I start, I did want to thank Ashley. Ashley Barnes does a great job of helping us get this together. Cinnamon, because once this leaves Finance Committee, Cinnamon's going to take over and she shepherds it through the rest of the process. And then Justin with the Assessor's Office helps us look at this and helps us make sure all the numbers are correct. But if you look at the budget book, real quickly in Section I, you see the process. So once we approve this, it goes to council. You'll have the introduction of the millage ordinance. You'll call for the public hearing. Again, Cinnamon takes that over. She makes sure the public hearing is done. She makes sure all the requirements are correct. In 2024, we're going to have a much different process. It'll be a reassessment year, so we got one more year doing this easy process. And if you look on page 2 of the book, that's where you'll see the listing of the actual millages. And I did have a question from Councilman Malonzo. He had asked if anything had changed. The millages did not change. We did add a couple from the road infrastructure districts, and we did have a few of them have their expiration dates extended. Those were the lighting districts 1 through 6, so those did change. The rest stays the same, and so again, from here it goes to council, and Cinnamon will pick up the process.
Second. I have a motion from Ms. Cazzo, a second from Mr. Wagsback. Do I have any questions? Any objections? Motion carries. And item D, finance update. Obviously, the link provided to us is our open finance. So if you have any, if you want to look at it, and if you have any questions, please feel free to submit it to Mr. Goldsmith or anybody in finance, and they will be glad to assist with that. And other than that, item 7. I have a motion from Mr. Cagnalotti to adjourn. Second from Coach. Any objections? All righty. Good meeting. Thank you, everybody.